to tomguitar.co.uk right now to check out the free guide, Boost Your Picking Speed by 50%. It covers the 7 most common mistakes everybody makes when they're learning speed picking. If you're making any of these mistakes, then you can't get progress. So check out that guide and hopefully it can help you massively boost your picking speed. That's at tomguitar.co.uk. Now on with the free lesson. So the thing that stopped me from progressing on guitar and stopped me from getting fast, even though I was practicing every single day for 3 solid years, is the novelty trap. Okay, now we've talked a bit about focus and different things like that in other videos, but this is all about the novelty trap. Okay, so what is it? Well, the clue's in the name. Basically, it's the trap you fall into when you're always going after that new thing, when you're always going for novelty. You're like, wow, I'm going to practice this new song, or I'm going to learn this new lick, or how about doing this new solo, or this new scale, or I'm going to use this new practice method and use that to learn this new shred pattern and sequence or something. You're always going for the new thing. You're always thinking, yeah, I want to learn that new thing. I want to learn that new thing. And every 2 days, you move on to a new thing. And then you move on to another new thing. And yeah, you're excited and you're kind of enjoying it. But then after about a month or 2, you're a bit like, hang on a minute. I'm not actually any better than I was a month ago. And then after 6 months, when you carry on going for the new thing, you're always going for the new song. Okay, 6 months later, you've learned the verse to 40 songs, but you can't play a single one all the way through. You've learnt 2.5 licks from 40 songs, but you don't know a single one of those solos all the way through. You've learnt a bit of a scale pattern, and then a bit of another scale pattern, and then you've tried improvising a little bit in another scale, and then you've learnt a few chords, but you haven't really got a system to put it all together, and you don't really know how to use it. Instead, you've just got all these random fragments and things that are all scattered all over the place. And you're not getting any progress, because every time you're just about to get progress on something, you move on to the next thing. Okay, so on guitar, your progress curve, okay, so say this is like nothing, this is like 0 progress at all. This is where you start, right, where you're learning something new. The progress curve kind of goes like this, right? So you start off learning something new, and you're not really progressing a lot, and then after a little while, you get a good bit of progress, and you get like a big jump. You know, you plateau a bit at first when you're trying to understand the new concept. Let's say you've got a new scale pattern that you're learning, and you're learning it and you're thinking, you know, and this is the stage when you're struggling to remember it. It's sort of under your fingers, but it feels a bit awkward. You know, it feels like you're having to force your fingers into the right places rather than it being nice and relaxed and effortless, right? That's where it's more difficult. And then you get a burst of progress, and you get this kind of jump. You plateau a bit and then you get a jump, right, in this progress. So you're like, oh wow, suddenly I remember it now and I can play it and it feels pretty easy. I can play that scale up and down, right? I can play the scale pattern at least up and down. But of course that's not really the goal of the scale, is it? That's not why we learn scales. We learn scales to make music, right? So then you plateaued for a bit and then you learn the scale, and now you know the scale pattern and you know it quite well and you can recognise the pattern. If you see it on the internet, you're like, oh yeah, I know that pattern. And then you plateau again while you're learning to try and make music with it. So you can play it up and down, and now you're trying to play it over a backing track, for instance, and play some cool licks and things and make up your own solos. So you're playing it, but you're plateauing again, because again, it's a new skill. It's a struggle. It's like, how can I make this sound like music? It doesn't really sound like music at the moment, right? So you're plateauing, and then suddenly you get another big burst of progress again, and you get a big jump. So you're like, suddenly, that's how it works. You figure out a few little phrases that you like the sound of that you can use in your improvisations. You start to learn which notes in the scale pattern you like the sound of more than others, and you start using those as the notes that you pause on and hold for longer, and you use the other ones as notes that you only pause on momentarily, and you start to figure out how you as an individual like to use this collection of notes to make music, and you start creating your own style and things like that. But the important thing to remember here is before every burst of progress, there's a plateau. Now, we talked about plateaus in the last lesson. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. You can still understand this one, but if you're interested, go and check it out. But basically, you get this plateau and then you get a sudden burst of progress. But that plateau where you're struggling, where it doesn't really feel like you're improving, but you're putting in lots of effort, that is necessary in order to get that big burst of progress. Because this, when you're practicing a lot but not getting a lot of progress, this is like the, how shall we say it, like the preparation for the next big burst. And then once you've prepared yourself enough and you're ready, then whoa, suddenly, oh wow, I can suddenly play it much easier. So you get progress in bursts like this. You plateau for a while and then you get a sudden burst of progress, and then you plateau again, you get a sudden burst of progress, and you keep doing this, right? But here's the thing, if you keep falling into this novelty trap, and after every 2 or 3 days you start learning something different, so let's say, for instance, let's do a bit of a better explanation. Let's say you're learning shred guitar, for instance. Now, I love shred guitar, it's what this channel is all about. So let's say you're learning a little single string picking lick, for instance, you know, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna master that. I'm gonna play it as fast as that guy on that TV there that I'm watching. That guy can play it super fast and I want to play like him, so I'm going to do it, right? And then you practice it and you're really motivated. Yeah, I'm going to play it as fast as my heroes. I'm going to be able to play their songs. I'm going to be able to play it live. I'm going to be able to play it with my band, open mics. I'm going to be able to record it, do a video of myself on YouTube showing how fast I can play, whatever, you know, whatever motivates you. And you're like, yeah, this is so exciting. And then in 2 days' time, you watch another YouTube video where somebody's talking about a different lick that you should learn. And they're saying, no, this lick is the one that got me really fast. So you think, oh, well, I should learn that one instead. Oh, I know, yeah, I'm going to learn that different lick. And now it's like a sweeping pattern, for instance. Whatever it might be, yeah? So you start learning that instead, and you're like, yeah, this is going to be great. And then after 2 days, you're bored again, and you're back on YouTube looking for another lick video, right? So this is the novelty trap. Basically, with there being so much material out there, so many songs you can access the tab to in seconds, so many videos you can watch of people teaching you new material, new licks and things, it's very easy to get distracted and try and learn loads and loads of different things, all one after another, without really focusing on any one thing enough to progress, okay? Now, as I said, we've talked about this in other videos, but this is like the main trap that people fall into, and it's because there's so much material out there. So when you're browsing YouTube, basically there are two kinds of guitar lessons, aren't there? The ones where they're teaching you about a concept or an interesting way of approaching something, so that's like this video, for instance, and then the other kind of guitar lesson is the one where they're actually teaching you how to play something specific. Okay, so the videos on the concepts and things, I really like these because you can apply them to any music you want. You can apply it to jazz, to metal, to blues, to rock, whatever, country, classical, folk, flamenco, you can apply it to anything, right? Because it's a general concept that you use to help you get from where you are now to where you want to go, right? So basically, the concept videos are fine. Watch as many of those as you can. You know, watch all these videos. There are loads of other great YouTube channels out there of people talking about how to learn guitar faster, how to approach it, the mindset you need, new ways of practicing certain skills and things. But here's the thing, there's also a lot of videos teaching you new material. There are also a lot of channels where they'll teach you new licks and new solos and new things like that, new scale patterns and everything. And that's great too, because you've got a lot of material, right? There's a lot of courses and books you can buy and everything. But the thing is, because there's so much, it's very easy to take this thing for half an hour and then go and practice this thing for half an hour. And then each time you move on to a new thing, you completely forget everything you've learned before, right? So how does this relate to our kind of plateau and whatever? Well, here's the thing. Before you really start getting progress with anything on guitar, you've got a little bit of a plateau. You've got a little bit of a learning period where you're spending time practicing that thing and getting used to the concept, but you're not really improving your playing. And it's only once you've been through that kind of struggle period where you're like, I don't really get this, that then suddenly you get the burst in progress and you're like, oh, that's how it works. Oh, it's really easy. Now I can use it, right? But the thing is, you have to push past that first stage. And this is where the novelty trap stops you, because you get trapped by thinking, oh, wow, I want to learn this and I want to learn that and I want to learn this. And let's say you need to get from here to here before you get a big burst of progress, right? So you need to get between these 2 points and then you'll get the big burst of progress. So in between here and here, you're plateauing, right? So this might be 10 minutes, it might be a week, it doesn't matter, but it depends on the skill. But let's say, you need to get through that plateau first, where it's difficult to learn something new, before you then get a big burst of progress, right? So let's say you're here now and you've just seen a really cool YouTube video or a really cool lesson on a blog of somebody teaching you a new lick, and you really want to learn this lick because it's won by one of your favourite guitar heroes, and you're like, I'm going to master that. It's really fast. It's quite high in ability level. It's maybe quite a lot higher than where you are now, but you're like, no, I know I can master it. Awesome, right? So you're here, and then suddenly, okay, you're going along the plateau, but you need to get to here before you really get that burst in progress and you actually start progressing. You get through to about here, and then you think, oh, I'm bored of this now, and then you go and find another lesson, and you do that, and you do the same thing again, and then you think, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to move on to another lesson, and then you're never actually making progress. Okay, so this is where the novelty trap really traps you, because you're always obsessed with finding the new thing rather than making what you already know really good and taking that tiny little thing, that one lick or that one scale shape, right the way up to a professional level. And I really do mean a professional level. Like if you can take that skill to the level where you can improvise in that one octave scale shape as good as anybody else in the world, then you will be a far better guitar player in far less time than you would if you keep flitting. So I've talked about focus and flitting between different things in other videos, but this is like a clarification. This is the trap you will fall into, the novelty trap, because you'll keep moving on to new things instead of mastering what you already know, okay? And most guitar players know a lot of skills to an average level, okay? So you might have an average level of knowledge in scales, you might have an average level of knowledge in shred guitar, you might have an average level of skills in ear training, for instance. Average for guitar players in ear training tends to be very low because it's not something we do, but we should. But that's a topic for another video. Basically, instead of having average skill levels in lots of different things, you need to take one area and take that all the way up to like mastery level, okay? You need to take it all the way up to complete, like, yes, I can do this thing as well as anybody in the world, and it's just brilliant. And once you've taken that thing up, it's like you've got like, say you've got a big sheet on the ground, like a bed sheet, and it's just on the floor, right? So it's all on the floor. These are all your skills. They're all at the same level. But then if you put like a pole underneath that bed sheet, so it's sticking up, then all the rest of the bed sheet drapes down around it, right? So this pole that's up, the centre of that pole, is like this skill that you've mastered. You've taken it all the way up to mastery, right? But then look at what's happened to all the other skills. They're raised up off the ground now as well. All the other bits of the sheet are further up because they've been raised up by this pole, right? So what's this metaphor here? Well, basically, because you've got one skill really high, that's lifted up all of the other skills, and they're all much easier, right? And even if they're not easier immediately, they're much easier than they were, and they'll be much easier to learn when you come to learn them, okay? So if you fall into the novelty trap and you keep flitting between different things, every day or two you're moving between a different lick. This is what I did for 3 years before I finally realised, no, I'm going to focus on one thing. And I focused on one thing, and that's when I finally started to be able to play fast, okay? So as a goal that I'd had for years, that was really quite exciting that in just a few weeks I got great results, and it was all just by changing my focus. From, I'm going to learn this thing, now I'm bored of it. Okay, now I'm going to learn this thing, oh, now I'm bored of it. Okay, I'll go and learn this thing instead. Oh, I'm bored of it. And then you never get past that initial plateau in any of the skills, and you never really increase your ability level, and you'll never get fast, okay? Because guitar speed is all about focus. Focus is like the one key. I know I go on about this in every video, but it's because it's so important. And very few people realise how focused and how incessantly driven you need to be on that one specific thing in order to get very, very fast. If you want to play fast, you need to be focusing on one thing, and you need to be relentless. You need to be obsessed with just creating this, creating an incredible level of skill with that one particular area, okay? And if you do that, and if you avoid the novelty trap, and you just stick to one thing and you make a commitment and say, I'm not going to move on from this until I've mastered it and I've got it to world-class level, then you'll have no problems playing fast and reaching your guitar goals. Okay? So I really do hope this video has been helpful for you. Basically, it's all about the novelty trap. So if you fall into the novelty trap, it's basically when you keep going for learning lots of new things and doing a half-assed attempt at each one, rather than taking one thing and saying, no, I'm going to master it. I'm going to keep practicing it until I get really noticeable results. Okay? And if you do fall into the novelty trap, that's the way to avoid it. Say, okay, I'm just going to stick to one thing and make a commitment. Push past the boredom if you get a little bit bored. Push past the urge to move on to something else, and just stick to that one thing, okay? And you'll get much better results by doing that. So again, I really hope this video has been helpful. If you've liked it, then obviously don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever, you know the drill. And don't forget to check out the guide on how to boost your picking speed by 50% as well, because that will really, really help you, and it'll help you make sure you're focusing on the right things when you do decide on something to focus. Okay? So again, I hope this has been helpful, and hopefully we'll see you in the next lesson.